The shocking truth about celibacy and chastity we've been deceived about forever in a world brimming with secrets. One confession is about to unravel everything you think you know. It's not just a relic of the past. It's insidiously hidden in plain sight, a mystery ripe with scandal that threatens to shatter your beliefs. The truth about celibacy and chastity will take you on a wild ride, unveiling the sinister ties these practices have to power, control, and even terror. Are you prepared for the shocking revelations that lie ahead? First, consider this. In ancient civilizations, those sworn to celibacy often wielded incredible power. Instead of pure devotion, many were bound by chains of manipulation, serving interests darker than anyone could imagine. Imagine a temple filled with glistening marble, shadowy figures draped in silk, whispering secrets while pain and pleasure entwined in an intricate dance of deception. It was never about piety. It was about power. The thrill of a forbidden love, the agony of enforced abstinence. It paints a haunting picture of the human experience. But wait, the mysterious layers don't stop there. Have you ever felt a shiver down your spine when hearing the tales of those attracted to the wrong kind of purity? The ones who devoted their lives to celibacy, only to find sinister undercurrents lurking just beneath their longing? It's an eerie reality, countless lives shattered by a mere belief. A lump in your throat tightens as you contemplate the hidden ramifications of such choices and the societal practices that manipulate souls for an evil agenda. With each whispered story, the tension thickens, drawing you closer to that ominous truth hanging in the air like thick fog. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Now, let us peer even deeper into this vortex of intrigue. Picture a Saturday night. A candlelit room pulses with anticipation. Shadows flicker as the door creaks open, revealing figures whose faith in abstinence has become a battleground of desire. Nobody can look away. Tension ripples through the crowd, a chorus of gasps bubbling beneath the surface. The stakes have never been higher. Are they merely pawns, or do they hold the key to a secret that could alter the universe as we know it? Could they be on the brink of awakening some ancient force? What could they discover? The night is thick with suspense, but one question remains as they linger in that dark room. What lies beyond that fragile veil of chastity? Are you as ready as I am to uncover the shocking truth behind their oath? The whispers in the room grew louder, the tension shifting like a living, breathing entity. Faces tilted closer, eyes wide with a mix of fear and morbid curiosity. It felt electric, the chilling promise of an unmasked truth waiting just behind the door of a double life they had been led to believe was genuine. As the first figure stepped fully into the flickering light, the air thickened with anticipation. Who was this guardian of endless vows? The silhouette transformed into a woman draped in flowing white, her face obscured by a veil of shadow and mystery. The flickering candlelight danced off her garment, casting eerie shapes onto the walls. The softness of her appearance clashed with the intensity of her presence, leaving the audience breathless. She began to speak, her voice low yet piercing, resonating through the crowd. You've sacrificed much for this so-called virtue, but what have you truly attained? Each syllable struck hard, like a hammer against a fragile glass. Gasps filled the room, and the figures recoiled slightly, recognizing the profundity of her words. Suddenly, the very foundations of their beliefs began to tremble. Celibacy is not an ascension into purity, she continued, her tone imbued with a dark conviction. It is a chain woven with the threads of control and designed to keep you entrapped. For centuries, those who wield power have disguised their greed as sanctity, and they fed off your desperation. A chill ran down their spines as realization dawned upon them. Every unfulfilled longing, every skipped heartbeat that craved connection, was being twisted into a web that shackled their very souls. A figure in the back, a man in a crisp black suit, stood rooted in disbelief. "What are you saying?" he croaked, his voice barely above a whisper, the reality crashing over him like a wave. The woman slowly raised a hand, as if to quiet him, before turning her gaze to the assemblage once more. "There exists a powerful secret. This night invites you to confront it, or to turn away, bound by your own vows." She stepped back, revealing a small altar shrouded in rich, crimson velvet. Its significance pulsed like a heartbeat, thriving on the tension that enveloped the space. On the altar, items of profound power gleamed in the candlelight: a small dagger, a vial of dark liquid, and scrolls inscribed with long-forgotten runes. The crowd shifted, each person grappling with the choice laid before them. Would they dare to explore the abyss of their beliefs, to tear down the veil that had hidden the truth for so long? A woman to the left, her hands trembling, whispered, "What would happen if we leaned into the unknown?" The question hung in the air, thick and heavy. Some recoiled, eyes darting away, while others leaned in, drawn by a magnetic pull toward the altar. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted yet again. A door behind the altar creaked open, revealing a dark, narrow passageway. Whispers of dread crept through the group. "Through there lies the truth," the woman declared, her voice steady. "But know the path will test your resolve. To enter is to relinquish the chains that bind you, and every step taken may awaken something far worse than what you seek." Could they afford to step into that darkness? The air grew thick with uncertainty, desperation flecked with hope entangling itself in the moment. As they stood on the precipice, eyes darting from the passage to the altar, doubt rose like a tide, threatening to drown them. But deep inside, a whisper of courage emerged. What choice would they make? Would they dare to step forward, or would they retreat back into the safety of their ignorance? And most chilling of all, what awaited them if they chose to embrace the truth behind celibacy and chastity? As the door yawned wider, a low growl echoed from the shadows. Darkness stirred, alive and watchful, as if anticipating their next move. The night was far from over, and every decision, every heartbeat would carve a path irrevocably toward salvation or destruction. What secrets would they awaken in their quest for liberation? And were they truly prepared to face the horrors yet to come? The darkness seemed to breathe, a living thing that coiled around their ankles, urging them closer to a fate unknown. The air crackled with a mix of fear and fascination. Murmurs floated through the crowd like smoke, curling up into the corners of the room, blending in with the flickering candlelight. "Do we really want to know?" A voice broke through the growing tension, but it was soon drowned by a chorus of doubt. "What if there's no going back?" Others nodded, sharing uneasy glances. Each heartbeat echoed like a drum in their chests, quickening with every second of indecision. "Your fears are merely reflections of your own chains," the woman in white said, an eerie calm wrapped around her. "To step through that door is to unshackle yourselves from the lies that have been forced upon you. Are you not tired of the masquerade?" A man edged backward, his brow furrowed. "What if we find something we can't unsee?" His voice was shaky, already weighed down by the gravity of the choice before them. "Or what if we discover the keys to our freedom?" Another cried out, stepping hesitantly toward the door, a flame of courage flickering to life. The moment was pregnant with possibilities. The air hummed with expectancy. The woman gestured towards the altar. "What you see before you are conduits of your awakening. Each item possesses unimaginable power. The dagger can sever ties that bind, the vial can unveil hidden truths, and the scrolls they hold wisdom lost through the ages. But beware, the cost will not be light." Shivers cascaded down spines as their gazes fell upon the altar. The dagger glinted sharply in the light, an ominous promise of change, while the vial shimmered, its contents swirling temptingly. And the scrolls beckoned with secrets that had been buried in time. As the door yawned wider, curiosity battled with dread, and a quiet rebellion began to ignite among the crowd. One by one, the hesitant murmurs turned to resolute whispers of determination. A woman stepped forward, her heart racing with purpose. "Let us find out the truth," she breathed. With eyes glistening as she took that first step through the threshold. It was as if the shadows parted for her, swallowing her whole. A gasp surged from the crowd, trepidation and intrigue weaving through them like a fraying rope. Suddenly, the dim light flickered violently, casting grotesque shapes across their faces, amplifying their fears. "Wait!" cried the man in the black suit, lunging forward, desperation cracking through his calm facade. "We don't know what's on the other side." But it was too late. The woman disappeared into the depths and the darkness groaned in response. An unsettling silence blanketed the room, deep and thick like a fog. Whispers turned to silence. All eyes glued to the entrance of the passageway, as if waiting for anything to break that stillness. Moments stretched painfully long. Then, without warning, a low, resonant voice emerged from the now heaving shadows. "Who dares to seek the truth?" It boomed, shaking the very walls. An unseen force rushed past them, full of chaotic energy, and dread clawed at their throats. One by one, they found themselves edging closer to the unknown, each pulse of fear mixed with an undeniable yearning for liberation. They were all bound together by the suffocating threads of their beliefs, and now the opportunity lay before them to cut those threads or remain shackled in ignorance. "What lies beyond could free us," whispered the trembling woman, grasping the hand of her companion as they took a shaken step forward. "Or it could destroy us." The choice loomed larger than life itself, filled with equal parts horror and hope. They could leap into the abyss, or let fear return them to the chains of their reality. With hearts pounding like war drums, they prepared to follow. But what awaited them in the depths? And would the truth bring salvation or doom? A ripple of apprehension surged through the crowd as they stood on the precipice of the unknown. The flickering light cast long shadows that danced like phantoms around them, almost daring them to take that final step into the abyss. The woman's absence hung heavy in the air, a void filled with unspoken questions. What if she's gone for good? The man in the black suit asked, his voice barely a whisper. Fear dripped from his tone like sweat on a summer day. Eyes darted around the gathering. "I can't do this," a young man beside him murmured, his palms trembling. "I can't face whatever lurks in there." But the sense of dread was overshadowed by something else, an electric thrill. A feeling taken from the depths of their despair, pushing them to confront their own shackles. It was as if the altar itself beckoned them closer, its items pulsating with an otherworldly energy. "Look!" a woman shouted, pointing at the shadows shifting along the wall. "There's something moving." Gasps erupted, several recoiling as vague forms twisted into grotesque shapes. The electrifying fear gripped them, but curiosity remained like a burning ember in their hearts. Together, the woman who had first spoken urged, her voice steady now, cutting through the noise. "If we stand together, we can face whatever's in there. We can bring her back." A flicker of bravery ignited among them. Friends clasped hands, strangers linked arms. They were shaky, their knees trembling, but they stood determined, ready to plunge into the darkness. With a shared breath, they surged toward the flickering door. The shadows writhed like living creatures as they crossed the threshold. For a heartbeat, the world spun around them, reality twisting as the shadows engulfed them whole. The air thickened. An oppressive weight pressed down on their chests, each inhalation a struggle against the impending fear. Where once there had been the faint glow of candlelight, everything was now drenched in black, a visceral void that felt alive. Suddenly, a blinding light pierced the darkness, illuminating the surroundings. They found themselves in a cavernous chamber, walls lined with ancient inscriptions and symbols, pulsating with a strange luminescence. The woman in white stood at the center, now holding the dagger, its blade undulating as if it possessed its own spirit. "Welcome." Her voice was smooth, echoing off the stone walls, making it seem like a spell of sorts. "You have chosen to embrace the truth. But remember, every choice carries its weight." "What do you mean?" someone shouted, unsettling uncertainty rippling through the group. She pointed to the dagger. "This can sever the ties that bind one to their past, to lies, to their own beliefs. Use it wisely, for freedom isn't free." Before they could process her words, the ground trembled violently beneath them. Deep rumblings echoed through the chamber, as if the very earth were protesting their presence. White-hot fear consumed them. Was this the consequence of their choice? "What is happening?" shouted the young man, his voice cracking. "Your awakening has triggered the guardians of truth." The woman continued, each word even more frantic. "They are restless." Rumbling intensified, and shadows began to twist into forms, ghastly figures emerging from the walls with hollow eyes and jagged mouths. A collective scream split the air, piercing through the cacophony of chaos. The shadows rushed toward them, a tide of terror and despair seeking to claim them, to bury them in ignorance once more. While some faltered, others rallied, gritting their teeth against the oncoming storm. The dagger sparkled ominously in the woman's grip, a possible weapon against the darkness. "Choice, are you ready?" she cried over the din, raising the dagger high as they braced themselves for the inevitable clash. But before anyone could respond, a deafening roar shattered the air. Was it a beast, or the echo of their own fears? The chaos loomed large, and as shadows rushed to envelop them, a question lingered in the air, thick with dread and anticipation. What will they face? When buried truths rise to meet them, the echoes of the roar thudded against their chests like a drum of inevitability. The shadows lunged, their forms shifting and writhing, an army of distorted pasts, clawing at the very fabric of the future. "Now!" the woman in white shouted, her voice slicing through the insanity. She lunged forward as the dagger glinted in the fray, a beacon of hope amidst despair. The moment felt suspended in time, a collision of fate and fear. With a swift motion, she aimed the dagger at the approaching shapes. They recoiled as if the blade was dipped in fire. "Stay close," again she called, rallying them. The young man, still trembling, felt his resolve building. A surge of power filled him as the dagger shimmered, and he watched as friends gathered, each friend's face alight with a mixture of horror and determination. Their hands gripped tightly together so they wouldn't be torn apart. "Face your fears," one of the women shouted. "We can conquer this." Her voice rang out, a battle cry that galvanized them further. The shadows swirled but hesitated, as if sensing the unity forming among the group. For a fleeting second, doubt appeared among them. But the woman in white stood ground, unfazed. The dagger pulsed brightly, channeling their collective strength. "Let your truths free you." She plunged the dagger forward, piercing the ground with a force that sent shock waves through the chamber. Light exploded from the point of impact, illuminating the grotesque faces of the shadows, revealing they were not just monsters, but manifestations of their own regrets, traumas, and fears. The revelation stung. Faces from the past flickered to life within the shadows, lost loves, forgotten friendships, minute choices that led to deeper scars. Each form carried a weight of memory that threatened to drag them under. "No!" the young man screamed as he felt his hands start to loosen. "They can't win." He tightened his grasp, adrenaline pumping. "Face them," the woman in white urged, her eyes fierce. "Do not run from the truth. It's the only way to set her free." The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of anguish that resonated with their own memories. The sound pierced through the chamber, as if the walls themselves were crying. A face appeared again, a childhood friend lost to tragedy, eyes wide with pain. "You abandoned me," it echoed. A low hiss. "Let it go." Another voice shrieked, and the group echoed it, the intensity growing, filled with rage and love. "We can't live in the past." The dagger glowed brighter, absorbing their fueled emotions. Each whispered fear cast off transformed into energy, pushing against the shadows. Yet the battle was not won. They could feel the pull of despair as the shadows shifted ever closer, clawing at their memories and dragging them down. What if this never ends? The doubt hung heavy in the air, a seed of panic that threatened to sprout within them. "Then we fight harder," screamed the young man, galvanizing the courage swirling among them. "Together, we are stronger than what haunts us." And in that moment, they surged forward, lifting the dagger high. The combined strength of their voices, hearts, and defiance created a light so blinding it swallowed the shadows whole. Then, silence fell like a heavy curtain. But the darkness was not gone. Only shifted. A gentle whisper echoed in the stillness. A voice neither familiar nor strange. It's only just begun beneath their breaths. A new shiver of fear washed over them. What loomed still in the shadows, an even darker truth yet to surface. As the silence deepened, a cold chill rushed through the air, and they realized something worse was waiting. A chill ran down their spines as they stood in the sudden quiet, the adrenaline still pulsing through their veins. The darkness seemed to thicken around them, heavy and oppressive, pressing in as if it had a life of its own. Each heartbeat pounded with uncertainty, the sound echoing in the vast emptiness. What does that mean? The young man whispered, his voice barely a breath. Anxiety knotted in his stomach as shadows coiled and writhed in the corners of the dim chamber. Dark tendrils reaching out like hands grasping for something lost. The woman in white took a step back, her eyes wide with realization. There is more. We've only scratched the surface. She lifted the dagger again, the light flickering like a candle in a strong wind. We need to go deeper. We need to find out what holds them to us, what gives them power. What do you mean? Another friend asked, biting her lip. We fought them. We stood together. We didn't banish them. We only revealed them. The woman turned, her gaze piercing. They are tied to our deepest feelings, our unconfessed doubts, our guilt. The shadows thrive on the truths we hide from ourselves. The group shifted uneasily, knowing their own struggles were vast oceans of discomfort lurking beneath their surfaces. The dagger pulsed as if in answer, vibrantly alive with their shared fears. We need to confront our own truths, she urged. Not just for ourselves, but for each other. Each step she took sent a ripple through the air, and the shadows inched closer again, drawn to the power of their resistance yet more voracious than before. The whispers grew louder, a chorus of accusations and regrets swirling like a tempest. You can't escape, one voice cried, echoing deep with a familiarity that sent icy fingers tracing up the young man's spine. He shut his eyes, squeezing them tight, remembering moments of shame, the guilt of mistakes made and friendships lost. The faces flickered at the edges of his mind, taunting him. No, he shouted again, fists clenching at his sides. Not again. Focus. The woman in white directed, her tone unwavering. Each shadow represents a fear. Let them surface. Confront them. Okay, he breathed, opening his eyes. With every ounce of courage, he pulled the memories into the light. I'm not afraid of you. His voice grew louder, ringing with conviction. You don't define me. The shadows recoiled momentarily, recoiling from the fierce determination washing over the group. Encouraged, others followed suit, each individual lifting the weight of their burdens into the light with resigned urgency. I chose to be alone, started one woman, her voice trembling yet resolute. I thought it would protect me, but it only chained me. I set myself up for failure. I pushed everyone away. Another joined, adding to the chorus, believing I was protecting them from me. As their confessions spilled forth, the dagger began to glow brighter still, capturing the very essence of their truths. It sparked with energy, feeding on their honesty. Yet, as the shadows shimmered painfully, the gentle voice rose again. What if the truth you discover is even darker? Fear tightened around the group, encasing them like a serpent. Was it possible? They had wrestled with their pasts, faced their fears. But what if the darkness was only a thin veil masking something far worse below? Do we dare find out? Someone hesitantly whispered, their heart racing. Yes, the young man yelled, heart swelling with courage he didn't know he possessed. We owe it to ourselves, to the truth. They stepped forward as one, bracing for whatever revelations awaited them. The shadows swirled again, their wisps flickering dangerously, but they stood strong. The light from the dagger flared, revealing a deeper darkness beyond that threatened to swallow them. And suddenly they understood this was just the beginning. What if the truths they uncovered went beyond their regrets? What if, hidden in that oppressive darkness, lay something that could break them apart forever? The dagger illuminated the chamber, casting eerie shadows that stretched and twisted as the group moved forward. With each confession, the air thickened, the whispers from the dark now merging into a haunting symphony of despair and hope. What loomed before them was more than mere darkness. It felt sentient, waiting with bated breath to lift its veil of secrets. "Keep going," the woman in white urged, her voice steady yet filled with a hint of fear. The stakes felt higher. The shadows began to coalesce, forming vague shapes that seemed to pulsate with raw energy. The boundaries of their courage were being tested. "Remember," a deep voice echoed from the lurking obscurity. "The deeper you go, the more will be revealed." The lingering dread crawled across their skin, a reminder of all that remained unspoken. The young man clenched the dagger tightly. It felt like an extension of his will, like it knew the truths they needed to face. "If we're going to uncover these truths, we need to stick together," he proclaimed, attempting to rally the group. His heart raced, unsure if he wanted to confront darkness or retreat to safety. Then, from the depths of the shadows, faces emerged, faces of those they thought they had locked away for good. Friends lost, loved ones grieved, moments of failure, all the wreckage of guilt formed into grotesque mask-like figures that lurked, each whisper more accusing than the last. "You aren't worthy," one shadow hissed, its voice dripping with disdain. "Each of you holds darkness within," another floated, tauntingly seductive. They faltered, just for a moment. The weight of their fears bore down, a crushing force. Doubt would easily keep them shackled if they allowed it. "We won't let you pull us under," the woman in white shouted, her eyes fierce point one by one. More truths began to spill. "I lied to myself and everyone around me," another voice broke through, shaky yet defiant. "I thought hiding my true self would protect me, but it only created a facade. I believed I didn't deserve happiness," chimed another. "But now I refuse to stand in darkness any longer." With each confession, the shadows recoiled. For every truth unearthed, a shadow flickered out, writhing in agony as if each truth was poison to their essence. A pulse of raw energy radiated from the dagger as it absorbed the strength of their honesty. It burned brighter as if rejoicing in their revelations. But as the shadows thinned, a deeper blackness beyond lingered, an almost tangible force that drew them in. "What's that?" someone gasped, pointing into the void where no light dared to go. Fear lanced through the group again. They had just started to understand their personal torments, and now there was something far more insidious lurking at the edges of their newfound bravery. "That's the root," the woman in white's voice trembled, recognition dawning in her eyes. "The source of everything we've concealed. Do we dare face it?" The young man repeated the question, now echoing in their minds. "Yes." A voice rang out, and the others quickly caught on. "We can take it together." With a collective breath, they pressed forward. The shadows retreated as the overwhelming darkness swirled for attention, beckoning them with ancient promises. A flicker of dim light barely pierced the gathering depth, a gateway to what they had kept hidden, deeper even than their regrets. Suddenly, a thunderous roar reverberated. It sent tremors through the ground beneath their feet. Was it an echoing laugh or a cry of despair? The very air felt electric with foreboding, trapping them in a web of uncertainty and looming dread. What awaited them in that all-consuming darkness? The answer lay just beyond the threshold, but the gravity of what could be revealed sent shivers down their spines. It was now or never. The dagger pulsed one last time, and with that they stepped into the void. The darkness swallowed them whole. It pressed and enveloped, wrapping around the group like a cold mist that whispered foul intentions. The dagger flickered feebly, illuminating their expressions, each face caught between fear and resolve. "Stay close." The young man's voice trembled, sounding less like a command and more like a plea. The shadows around them twisted, curling with ominous intent, making him question if they were even truly alone. He gripped the dagger tighter, its cool metal reassuring against his clammy palm. Each step into the abyss felt heavy, as if the air itself was laden with memories too painful to bear. As they moved deeper, the shadows shifted, swirling into shapes of terror, specters of their past indiscretions that clawed at the edges of their minds. "I can't do this." A voice broke the tense silence. It was the woman in white, her eyes rimmed with tears. "What if it's too much? What if I can't face what I've done?" "No." Another voice surged with emotion. "You have to. We're in this together. Remember what we just confessed. This is the next step." With those words, an anger surged within, igniting the dagger-esque glow just a bit more, illuminating the grim faces of the shadows that encroached on them. Yes. The group rallied, reinforcing their bond as they advanced. Every flicker of light revealed snippets of their lives, a broken promise here, a betrayal there. Sometimes they even faced themselves through the wretched forms of their own decisions. The weight of regret twisted into jagged shards of reality, and the shadows elongated, each whisper becoming a cacophony urging them to keep their secrets buried. Suddenly, the air shifted. A colossal figure emerged from the depths, looming disastrously over them like a colossus of despair. It bore the familiar traits of their deepest fears, the faceless embodiment of their failures. The whispers morphed into a single haunting voice, echoing like thunder. "You will never escape what you are." Panic surged through the group, each of them freezing in their tracks. The woman in white, trembling, stepped forward. "You don't control us. We're not afraid of you anymore." The shadows hesitated, recoiling for the briefest moment. But then the figure laughed, a chilling sound that resonated through the chamber. "You think truth grants you power? Wrong. Power lies in the lies you've kept hidden." The young man's heart raced. He understood, looking into the eyes of his comrades. "Our truth is our weapon. The deeper we go, the stronger we become." They shouted in harmony, the atmosphere trembling with unspoken resolve as they took a collective step forward. Hearts pounding in unity, the dagger blazed fiercely. Light poured from its edge, pushing back the darkness threatening to consume them. The shadows shrieked in fury. But then, a sudden silence enveloped them. The laughter ceased, replaced with a weighty stillness. "What is happening?" someone stammered, the unease palpable among them. A new shimmer emerged, a glimmering portal at the base of the monolithic figure, swirling with both promise and peril. It pulsed in rhythm with the dagger's glow, an unpredictable heartbeat. "Is this another trap?" The woman in white spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. The dark figure loomed closer, its presence oppressive but sensitive to their challenge. "To uncover the truth, you must first take the leap. It's a choice." Eyes darted nervously between each individual. Doubt hung like a fog, thick and suffocating. "Do we dare?" The young man breathed, time stretching endlessly. "What if this leads us to horrors beyond our imagination?" A breath caught in his throat as they exchanged lingering looks, weighing the gravity of their decision. Together they had come this far. Would they start anew by diving into the unknown? Together, they murmured, readying themselves for whatever lay ahead. When they moved toward the portal, the monstrous figure faded, the air thickening with unresolved tension. Then, just as they began to cross the threshold, a blinding flare shot up from the dagger, sending shockwaves through their bodies. The shadows screamed, retreating as the light surged. But as the brilliance enveloped them, a voice whispered softly, "The truth will always find you whether you're ready or not." With a final rush, they fell into the light, leaving the void behind. But what lay on the other side? Would it be salvation, or something far worse? The moment they fell into the light, reality shifted. Their surroundings twisted, colors blurring and reformulating into a new landscape. What once felt like raw darkness was replaced by a startling brightness that almost blinded them. The weight of their fears lifted for the first time, but trepidation rippled through the air like an electric charge as their eyes adjusted. They found themselves standing on a vast expanse of crystal-like ground that shimmered beneath their feet. The atmosphere was disorienting. No shadows, no whispers, only a piercing silence that seemed to listen. It felt almost like the calm before a storm, a deceptive tranquility that masked the struggles they left behind. "Where are we?" the woman in white asked, her voice echoing softly, as if the landscape itself amplified her fear. The young man squinted, scanning the horizon. I don't know, but it's beautiful. Yet it was too pristine. Something in the brightness felt unsettling. Each beam of light cast reflections that seemed to morph into messages. Lines of emotions manifesting like fog on a mirror. Do you feel that? He said. It's like we're being watched. The others nodded, uneasily shifting on the shimmering ground. Suddenly, out of the stillness, a holographic figure materialized, translucent yet commanding. It was an image of themselves, distorted, exaggerated emotions playing across their faces. One by one, their buried truths unfurled, soaring above them in a tapestry of their unresolved pasts. Welcome, the figure intoned, voice resonating with an eerie calm, to the revelation chamber. Here you will face the culmination of your truths. The woman in white gasped. What do you mean by culmination? Every choice you've made, every secret you thought was buried, they will materialize before you, the figure explained, the weight of its words clinging to them like fog. Confront it or let it consume you. In an instant, images erupted around them, visions of regrets, failures, moments stained with guilt. The young man watched helplessly as he saw himself betray a friend, a trust irreparably broken. The shadows of his actions sprang to life, each memory tethered to the edges of his heart, grasping for release. Why are you showing us this? He yelled, desperation bubbling in his throat. We've already faced it in the darkness. No, the figure replied, its voice becoming sharper. In the darkness you merely acknowledged your truth. Here you must confront it, reckon with the consequences. Only then can you find your path forward. The creature of light gestured, and suddenly the visions shifted focus. The woman in white was overwhelmed with images of her family, each snapshot revealing the cold rift her choices had left between them. Tears streamed down her face as she whimpered, "They'll never forgive me." "Perhaps they won't," the figure replied, unwavering. "But forgiveness comes from understanding, a bond deepened by truth, the hardest lesson to learn." A steady dread fell over them. What if they not just lost their way in the darkness but might also lose each other here, faced with the full weight of their failures? Just then, a low rumbling began, shaking the ground beneath them. The visions darkened. "Make your choice," the figure warned. "Face it or be consumed by it." The young man felt his heart race. Would they truly dive into the chaos of their own making? Would they confront the pain head-on or flee from it dangerously? Together he breathed, glancing at his comrades. "We can face this." A sudden roar erupted as the visions swirled faster, a maelstrom spinning around them, pulling them toward the depths of their own revelations. Choose now. Choose your moment of truth. As he reached out to the woman in white, the other figures began to dissipate into ethereal strands of light, scattering like ash in the wind. The ground trembled, and desperate screams filled the air. Would they face the storm together, or would they splinter under the force of their truths? One final glance at each other signaled their united front, braving the forthcoming chaos of reckoning. But just as the storm surged around them, a blinding light engulfed the chamber, dragging them into its blaring core, erasing their cries. What awaited them in the heart of this unrelenting storm? Would it illuminate their darkness or plunge them further into chaos? The blinding light erupted, consuming them whole, spiraling through time and space, and a weightless moment stretched, unfurling endless possibilities. They finally landed not with a sobering thud, but a gentle easing into a new reality. As they blinked into clarity, it felt like waking from a dream, alive yet disoriented. All around them lay an endless horizon, painted with hues of sunrise, warmth flooding their skin. It was a land of vibrancy, filled with wildflowers and fragrant blooms, sunlight spilling over rolling hills that danced in the breeze. For a brief moment, it felt like liberation. The shadows vanished, if only momentarily. Hope swirled among them, and yet, the joyous beauty felt strange against the backdrop of their recent turmoil. "Where are we?" the young man whispered in awe, eyes wide with wonder and confusion. This is our new beginning," the woman in white said, relishing the warmth, though doubt still lingered in her heart. But I know the truth awaits us, doesn't it? As if on cue, the ground trembled again, and from behind the hills appeared that very same holographic figure, now shimmering with an urgency they hadn't noticed before. To truly embrace this initiation, you must confront your past commitments and the scars they've left. This land reflects your souls. With every patch of sunlight, shadows lurk. Do not be deceived. Collective gasps filled the air. Unraveled memories poured from the edges of their hearts, moments of grief. Lost opportunities, pathways never taken. Yet, among those fractured pieces lived a silent yearning, the urge to rebuild, to forge new connections. It doesn't have to define who we become from here on out, the young man declared, and courage rippled through the group. We learn to face our truths back there now. We have to decide what to do with that knowledge. A heady mix of anxiety and hope wrapped around them like an embrace, and one by one, they spoke. Let us embrace our faults, one woman said, voice steady. We can turn those shadows to strength. We need to forgive ourselves, added another, determination etched across her face. The atmosphere shifted as their words solidified resolve. The holographic figure lit up, a knowing smile spreading across its ethereal features. Choices made here will reverberate beyond. What do you seek? As they took a collective breath, a wave of possibility washed over them, the chance to weave their darkness into light. Echoing through their shared memories rang the sentiments of forgiveness, acceptance, and courage. I seek connection, the young man stated, eyes glimmering, to understand and be understood. And I want to break the chains of guilt that stretch back to my childhood. Another confessed. They rallied together, their hearts now aligned under a shared purpose. One by one, they articulated their hopes, each declaration a thread woven into an invisible fabric, binding them tighter in the tapestry of their new beginning. A soft glow radiated from their unity, illuminating the land around them like wildflowers blooming in the aftermath of a storm. From this point on, we hold the power, the woman in white pronounced with confidence, raising her hands. We choose not just to face our past, but to embrace it. The shadows no longer hold us down. We transform them. With that, the air shimmered, shifting to show the shadows retreating at both the power of their connection and the strength of their truths. It felt exhilarating, like a tidal wave washing away remnants of their fear. Remember, the holographic figure echoed, fading gently into the brilliance behind them. Your truths are what bind you to your essence, and it is in honesty that you will find your liberation. As the light spread, embracing them, an overwhelming calm settled in. From this moment, they could stride forward hand in hand, basking in the brilliance of their courage. In a whirlwind of emotions, they transformed their burdens into stepping stones for brighter futures. Sunshine warmed their faces, each flower stretching in unison as if rejoicing alongside them. The horizon ahead promised not just renewal but a deliberate victory over their past. They had stepped into the dawn of a new understanding. In that embrace of warmth, they looked at each other, smiles blooming like sunflowers in the spring. This is it, the young man declared, brimming with assurance. Our journey starts now. And with hearts unshackled, they took their first steps into this dazzling day, ready for whatever adventures awaited. They were reborn, not as prisoners of shadow, but as guardians of light. But before you go, you need to subscribe immediately. Hit that red button so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to help us feed the algorithm, show the love. Flood the comments with your thoughts. We want to hear your reaction and any theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this wrap-up. Your support makes all the difference in this journey. Thank you for being part of this adventure.